But Metatron, you've already made a video about the declassified CIA documents about the government looking for the Ark of the Covenants. No, you muppet. It's Noah's Ark today. The other day was Ark of the Covenant. What's next? The Holy Grail? And we're back. Here it is, declassified. So one from Bro Bible, of course. It's actually not easy to differentiate between the ones about the Ark of the Covenant and the one about the... Anyways, let me click something. All right, so we got a little animation here. Declassified CIA documents reveal the US government's secret search for Noah's Ark. 3 days ago updated. All right, let's go. For centuries, historians, archaeologists, and religious scholars have been fascinated by the story of Noah's Ark. According to the Bible, Noah built a massive ship under God's command to save his family and a pair of each animal species from a catastrophic flood. Not a pair of each species, anyways, but yeah. However, no physical evidence of the Ark has ever been found until now, perhaps. Recent scientific discoveries and newly unearthed CIA documents suggest that the US government has been secretly searching for the Ark for over 50 years. Scientists have recently declared, please tell me who. Can you give us names, please, for once in these articles? The Armenian report, scientists. Who? Names and surnames, please, have recently declared that a boat-shaped mound located 18 miles south of Mount Ararat in modern-day Turkey, formerly Western Armenia, may be the fossilized remains of a massive vessel. That would be very interesting. Their research based on soil analysis revealed traces of clay-like materials, marine deposits, and remnants of ancient marine life. These findings indicate that this region was once covered by water, which supports the possibility of a historical flood event. Now, whether or not there was some sort of historical flood event is something that we can discuss absolutely, since it is present in so many mythologies, religions, cultures, so that's something that I could be more inclined to believe. With that being said, isn't it easy to see if it's a mountain or if it's a former enormous wooden ship? Shouldn't that be simple? Let's see. The research was conducted by a team of experts from Istanbul Technical University, Agril Ibrahim Chechen University, and Andrew University in the United States. According to their statements, open quotes, our studies show that this region harbored life in that period and that at some point it was covered in water. That's interesting, which reinforces the possibility that a catastrophic event of great magnitude occurred. Close quotes. I added this was interesting. I shouldn't speak up until I say close quotes. I'll get it right one day. While the scientific discovery is groundbreaking, well, that's still to be said. We need to see if it is groundbreaking. A recently uncovered CIA document suggests that the US intelligence agencies have known about this site for decades. A 4-page report titled, open quotes, Report Re Noah's Ark, details how the CIA secretly searched for the Ark's location for nearly 10 years, beginning in the 1950s. The agency used satellite imagery and spy planes to scan Mount Ararat and surrounding areas for signs of the legendary ship. So my question is, if the US knew that there was something of interest in this mound, why didn't they send anyone? Why wasn't there any excavation up to this point? So that would be my first question. The second question that I have is, how are you connecting it to Noah's Ark? Because just because you find a big vessel, it doesn't mean that automatically it's Noah's Ark. We need a little more than it's big and this area may have been underwater to make such a connection, which of course would be a connection I would love to see. But we have to be realistic and methodical when it comes to how we make certain statements. Was there something written in ancient Hebrew? Is the wood used the same that comes from the Sinai region? Like that, you need a little more than, oh, it's big and maybe it's a ship, so we found Noah's Ark. Declassified CIA files reveals that the US government has been interested in exact location since at least 1957. Between 1974 and 1982, the CIA ramped up its efforts using high-resolution images from surveillance aircraft and satellites. The director of Central Intelligence personally requested that the agency investigate any potential evidence of Noah's Ark. We'll look for the actual document to see if the document even exists first and then what it says. One notable figure involved in this effort was Lieutenant Colonel Walter Brown, a high-ranking U.S. Air Force official. According to reports, Brown urged the CIA to develop advanced technology specifically designed to analyze satellite images on Mount Ararat in search of the Ark's remain. Despite decades of investigation, the US government has continuously denied that it possesses any evidence proving the Ark's existence. Well, that would be quite silly then to release or to open the documents to the public if they state the opposite. Multiple Freedom of Information Act requests for the release of satellite photos taken during the CIA search have been rejected. Officials have cited national security concerns as the reason for keeping these images classified. The refusal to release these documents has fueled speculation that the government may know more than it is willing to admit. Well, it's always the case anyways. I mean, it's just how governments work. Unfortunately, there is some information that cannot be shared with the public because it could jeopardize certain operations, or it could give intel to foreign powers that then could become enemies. Obviously that's going to be the case. This is not a revelatory statement, is all I'm saying. Some researchers believed the classified photos may contain undeniable proof of a man-made structure hidden beneath Mount Ararat's rugged terrain. Now, this is interesting, but it's a completely different claim. So let's dissect it and examine it for proper context. So these researchers here think that they might contain undeniable proof of a man-made structure. So this means that people who are not these researchers already don't even think it's artificial. So they say it is artificial and it is a structure. So no ship mentioned in this at the moment. Then we have this. It's probably from the original document, but again, unless I see it on the CIA website. But let's read it for context. Noah's Ark, 1974-1982. On 13th May 1974, DCI coldly sent a letter to the DSNT, asking if the agency had any evidence of Noah's Ark and on Mount Ararat. Mr. Colby said that the Lieutenant Colonel Walter Brown of the U.S. Air Force Academy has asked, open quotes, whether it would be appropriate or possible to exploit satellite photography to examine the glacier system there to see whether any evidence of the Ark could be found, close quotes. So he would call it Ark, if this were to be believed. On the 21st of May, the center responded that no evidence of the Ark could be discerned on U-2 photography acquired on the 10th of September 1957 or on any satellite image available at the center. So in theory, they denied it. On the 6th of August 1974, Congressman Bob Wilson asked the agency whether any aerial photos of Mount Ararat could be released to a friend of his, Dr. John Morris, son of Dr. Henry M. Morris, the head of the Institution of Creation Research of San Diego, California. Mr. Hicks stated in a letter to the agency legislative liaison staff that several U-2 photos dated 1957 were available, but were still classified, open quotes, confidential, close quotes. The younger Dr. Morris wrote to the agency later requesting the photos. His request was denied, of course. They said it's confidential by Angus Thurmer, the agency's press spokesman, who stated something. All right, so I see. Right, let's go for the fossilized marine. The discovery of fossilized marine remains at the suspected Ark site lends credibility to the biblical account of the Great Flood. If further excavations confirms that the structure is indeed an ancient vessel, so we still don't know it, it could be one of the most significant archaeological finds in history. You know, they keep repeating this over and over and over again. Which one is it? Is it the underground structures under the pyramid? Is that the most significant? Is this one the most significant? Is the aliens in Mexico the most significant? Which one is it? Because not every single finding would be history's most significant. I understand that they're trying to get some wording specifically crafted in a way to help with the algorithm and the search engines, I suppose. And it's a little sensationalistic, but I don't know if it would be the most significant archaeological finding in history. It would be very important, though, if we could prove that there was a flood. And as I say, I am inclined to believe that at one point there maybe, it's a maybe, there may have been some kind of flood. Maybe not a flood that completely covered the entirety of the planet in water, but I'm saying a substantial flood as to create a collective memory within the religion, mythology, culture, stories of different people in different cultures. That I'm open to the possibility, because I'm not the guy who's going to be skeptic about everything. I'm not that kind of guy. But I am very careful when it comes to articles, whether it be this one or whether it be any other that we're going to check today, because all they do is this, sensationalizing everything. However, the lingering question remains, has the CIA already uncovered this evidence and chosen to keep it secret? Much like the Ark of the Covenant, another biblical artifact shrouded in mystery, and Noah's Ark, may never be fully revealed. The thing that is really strange is that I think there is a passage in Genesis that, let me see if I can find it. Genesis 8:4. All right, so Genesis 8:4, this is already at the end of the flood, and it says, and the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 7th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. So it is mentioned. At this point, I'm asking a few things. One, why didn't they already excavate this mountain since it's here. And second, it's not like you really need the CIA to read something that it's already mentioned in the Bible. At this point, go to the mountain and see. If there is nothing, then it means that then there is nothing. But if there is something, and I hope that we don't go into the conspiracy of, oh yeah, there is something, but they don't want you to know. So yeah, I think if that were the case, then even the CIA documents wouldn't be out for grabs at this point. I look forward to see the results of this excavation. As with everything, evidence is what's gonna give us kind of a final say onto this. Yeah, so here we are, www.cia.gov, and yeah, it's written like this. Goodness gracious. Let's see if I can read a little bit of it. So document type CREST, collection NGA records, formerly NIMA, document number, we've got a document number, release decision, RIPUB, classification K, 12 pages, let's go. All right, I found it in the, okay, cool. So here is the original, let's check it out. JS516 program design, Noah's Ark experiment. So they didn't even give it a special name, just called it for what it was. Objective. In looking forward to the design of future photographic interpretation viewing station for black and white imagery, the utilization of new and superior light sources is being considered. Since it is desirable to limit research to those light sources that are most efficient and rare, at the same time, preferred by those performing the interpretation task, it is necessary to determine which sources are really preferred. Okay, so they're talking about the methodology. Substantial test hypothesis of this program is that there exists some optimum source of illumination for photographic interpretation tasks. Okay, that seems very professionally written, differently from the previous one with the Ark of the Covenant. It wasn't very professional. Presentation procedure. Oh, this is just about that. There is nothing about the Ark in here. So it's just telling us how basically the tech worked and how they did the photographs and some bibliography as well. Why is there bibliography? Well, I guess this is the study. All right, so let's see if we've got something about the Ark. Yes, all right. What about Noah? Yeah. So it says here, declassified in part. So maybe not all of it. Sanitized copy approved for release. So they removed stuff, obviously. And program design Noah's Ark experiment. Declassified in part. So do keep in mind that this is not fully declassified. Then it's been sanitized. It kind of repeats the same thing. Is this it? Whether this optimum exists in terms of maximum attainable luminance level, a particular spectral distribution, or some other variable is unknown and will not be analytically determined in the program presented herein. The operational equipment constructed to test the hypothesis has been termed Noah's Ark. Okay. No, I think this is different. Noah's Ark, 1974-1982. So we saw this part, but there is the rest of the document. I found it. We have looked into this matter in some detail, and we regret that we are unable to provide any information. In September-October 1974, Admiral Showers of the intelligence community staff in response to a query from Lieutenant Commander Lonnie McClung asked about the availability of intelligence information concerning the location of Noah's Ark. He was told that a search has been made of aerial photography with negative results. Then we see on the 3rd of April 1975, NPIC section chief, we don't know who that is, redacted, sent a memo to the chief, IEG, detailing the efforts of MESSRS, redacted and redacted, who had searched unsuccessfully all available U2 and satellite imagery for possible evidence of Noah's Ark. So it's unsuccessful. This search has been prompted by the visit to the center on the 14th of March 1975 of Captain Howard Shue of the IC staff with a ground photo showing a long-range view of the purported Ark. The redacted division of NPIC was tasked to determine if the Ark's features in the photo had been altered. Test failed to identify any manipulation. Attempts to compare the ground photo with satellite imagery for the identification and location purposes also proved negative. From the 27th of March to the 5th of April 1975, a French archaeological explorer, Fernand Navarre, was at Iverson Mall in Washington, D.C., publicizing his book, Noah's Ark, I Touched It. As part of the sales pitch for the book, there was a display which included a supposed wood fragment of the Ark. Several NPIC analysts concerned with the Ark problem visited the display but found nothing that would help their research effort. Now we're starting to see what this is. Okay, now we get to the mount. On the 10th of April 1975, Colonel Paul Tanota and Captain Howard Shue of the IC staff visited NPIC to discuss Mount Ararat and to see the August 1974 aerial photography of the mountain. At the request of Captain Shue, a print of Mount Ararat showing the 13,000 and 14,000 foot elevation was provided. On the 5th of July 1975, a book entitled something, The Ark of Ararat by Thomas Nelson, was released. Mr. Nelson maintained that the CIA had photos of Mount Ararat and that they had been analyzed in the search for the Ark. On the 12th of October 1975, Tom Krotzer, from a group known as the Holy Ground Mission of Frankston, Texas, showed a group photo supposedly of the Ark taken during their 1974 expedition to Mount Ararat. Sometimes in 1977, Bill Chenley's Speed of Search Foundation, Inc. requested the aerial photos of Mount Ararat. His request was also denied. Alright, so this is the actual part where there is at least a maybe, because up to this point it was no. Now there is a maybe. Senator Barry Goldwater wrote DCI Turner on the 1st of September 1978, open quotes, "You may think this is a screwball request, and it may be, but I would like to know if you can do anything about it," close quotes. The letter went on to ask if satellite photography could be searched, open quotes, to determine whether or not something in the way of an archaeological find might be located near or on top of the mount, close quote. Goldwater explained that the letter he had received had come, open quotes, from a man in whom I have great confidence, who certainly is no nut, who knows Turkey rather well, but who feels that there is reason to believe the Ark may be resting at or near the top of the mount. I assure that I will keep this at any classification you want it kept, and if you desire me to go to the devil, I know the way, close quote. So up to this point, basically this senator in the 1970s heard someone they trusted presenting this possibility, and it was asking pretty much the government, or this specific sector of the government, if there is a way to use technology to confirm or deny the claim. DCI Turner replied, open quotes, "We have been requested on several occasions if we could determine whether there was remains of the Ark on Mount Ararat. We have, as a result, carefully reviewed the photography of the area, but have not found any evidence of the Ark," close quotes. I mean, I don't know, unless we keep reading and then we get to a section where he says, yes, we did find it and it was there, and oh my gosh, then I mean, unless we get that, it looks like that what these documents say is that there is nothing in it, or at least that they didn't find it. Now, whether there is nothing somewhere nearby or not, it's a different discussion. But at least when it comes to the CIA here and these documents, that's what I'm reading. It's insane that the articles would say, they had it all along. On the 27th of May 1981, redacted, of the center received a telephone call from the Air Force Talent Control Officer, Major Ray Abel, requesting information on Noah's Ark. Major Abel said that he had received a request from General Lew Allen, Air Force Chief of Staff, who, in turn, was answering a requirement from Congressman Bill Archer of Texas. Congressman Archer had indicated that some of his constituents from Houston, Texas, were going on an expedition to Mount Ararat and would like to have as much information as possible. Redacted told Major Abel that NPIC had conducted a study on Mount Ararat in the 1970s and had found no evidence of the Ark. In February 1982, and this is the end, former astronaut James B. Irwin of the High Flight Foundation, a Christian group in Colorado Springs, Colorado, called former NPIC official Dino A. Brugioni at his home and asked about the aerial photos of Mount Ararat. Irwin was informed that no evidence of the Ark had ever been seen on aerial photography, and approved for release, date February 2002. So at least when it comes to this document here, I'm going to look for more, but when it comes to these, they found nothing. That's the news. Alright, this file is made available through the declassification efforts and research of the Black Vault. So what have we got here? Ark, yeah. Alright, so this is a final response to your 10th of April 2014 Freedom of Information Act request received in the office of the Information and Privacy Coordinator on 10th of April 2014 for a copy of all documents pertaining to Noah's Ark. Our records show that we conducted a search on behalf of an earlier request for records pertaining to the subject of your request. Therefore, we are enclosing the 12 documents consisting of 49 pages which we believe to be responsive to your request. These documents were located and released in connection with the earlier request and as part of another release program. Because you are entitled to the first 100 pages free, there is no charge for these documents. Sincerely, Michelle Meeks, Information and Privacy Coordinator. And we've got a lot of stuff. So let's see everything that has Noah's Ark in it. Dr. Carver and West Point, okay. Apparently our intelligence people at the CIA might have classified photographs of Noah's Ark, and I was wondering if you had any comments about that. So and again, we have a person asking the CIA about this, and the answer is, well, I don't recall the CIA working on Noah's Ark, but I do remember that at the time there were some pictures taken. And there were clear indications that there was something up on the Mount Ararat, which was rather strange. There was various archaeological expeditions that were mounted. The Turkish government was not too thrilled about supporting them because it was getting into an area that was politically dicey from the Turks' point of view. All right, Noah's Ark and Mount Ararat is the subject of this one. We are already in 1994, so we jumped 2 decades. I have provided copies of imagery contained in the OIAs and MPIX files on Noah's Ark and Mount Ararat. As you can see by the accompanying records of requests for information, we have consistently denied requests for release of this imagery due to classification considerations. The documentation also suggests that we have never been able to conclusively identify Noah's Ark. And I think that this, I mean, I'm gonna keep checking. 49 pages, you said, 47 pages, you said. I'll check all 47 pages. But this is what I'm noticing here. They looked for it, didn't find anything conclusive. We have responded to FOIA requests on a case-by-case basis and have no efforts currently underway either to review other records or conduct additional searches for Noah's Ark in the Mount Ararat region. In 1994, they kind of stopped with that. They're like, that's stuff for the 70s. It's the previous generation. We don't care. More requests. Noah's Ark projects. This is 1992, 1994. I would say anything that has to do with 1994 can be summarized by what we read. Here we got stuff from 1981, so I'd say that's also 1982. That's also summarized. So no, I don't find anything. But feel free to check these. I'll put the link in the description. Maybe you can go even deeper with a comb and see if you could find anything. But as far as I'm concerned, at least in all the documents that I could find, they did not claim that they found it. Nowhere did I find that they claimed that anything was found in Mount Ararat that would suggest it to be a ship. But anyways, as always with all of these things, I say the same thing every single time, whether it be pyramids, whether it be the Ark, whether it be the other Ark. Dig. Bye.